And we are live. Welcome, guys. I'll give it a few seconds for folks to trickle in, but I'm super excited to be here interviewing my good friend, Raymon Geis, CEO and founder of Resonance, the Resonance Network. It's the new hot thing that you definitely need to be jumping on, because that's the way you're going to be found, hired, and it's going to make a huge difference in your career, because this is the new way. This is the new paradigm that has to be created in opera, in classical music, in the performing arts. And so I'm excited to have this conversation, because I think it's very necessary for more people to take seriously what technology can do to help their careers. A little bit of housekeeping. First, obviously, it goes without saying, this is Father's Day, and many of you may not know, but Raymond is a father to a beautiful daughter named Nora. So happy Father's Day to you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here, and looking forward to a great conversation.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot that's happened in the industry in the past few years that I think give you the inspiration to start Resonance and other ventures you've created. And we'll talk about all of that as time comes. And oh, Amanda, thank you. Thank you for being here. Very excited to talk about what we have. Oh, yeah, happy Father's Day. I'll send that to you, Raymond, from Amanda.
Thank you,
Amanda is actually a super dynamic entrepreneur and
awesome.
Investor. She's a connector. I actually definitely need to connect you with her, because she can make some things happen for Resonance. And I'm so glad you actually showed up, Amanda, because we had a conversation with her about DictionBuddy and some investment sort of routes. We're a little early for that. So Amanda, I think it'd be great for you to actually talk to Raymond. So we'll make that happen. We'll make that connection very shortly. But yeah, it's a beautiful Sunday here in New York. And let's see. So guys and gals and others, I want to share a few things with you, just some general things about this broadcast. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to post them in the chat. We'll be viewing that and sharing that often. Additionally, if you want to find out more about DictionBuddy, you can visit us at www.dictionbuddy.com. And I'll be putting more information about Resonance on the site, and also sharing their socials as time progresses. So let's start with how it all began, Raymond. Tell us your origin story. How did you get into opera? How did you get into, how did it all begin?
How did I get into opera? Well, I grew up my whole life around opera. Both of my parents were opera singers. They met in Germany, singing in Munich. And then I was born. And then they came over to the States a few years later. And I was just surrounded by the world of opera and singing my whole life. I mean, I didn't hear the Beatles until I was like probably 7 or 8 when I was at school.
Wow. That's
so
crime,
I was like, really, I know it was a crime, but so I was screwed from the beginning. And after that, I went into school, did the whole performance undergrad. Then I went to grad school and studied vocal pedagogy. And then I started my own private studio, and then, tried the singing thing, did the cover butt for a couple years. Covering out a bunch of different places. And then I started another app with a couple people called Accompanist, which is a accompaniment app for singers and teachers to help them to sing through their songs. And what was really funny is that, as I was teaching and as I was dealing with, you deal with things all the time as a teacher. You deal with scheduling, you deal with chasing down payments, when you're getting gigs from institutions and employers, most of the time they don't even send you a contract. It's an email or something like that, and then they don't pay you on time. And that was always very frustrating for me. I'm a business-minded person, and I felt like there's a big lack, especially in the opera industry. You look at other disciplines, musical theater, acting, they have a little bit more of a business mindset. But even so, there, I think it's lacking quite a bit. And finally, as I was doing Accompanist, I was, thinking about, how can we make things more valuable? And I was like, oh, wow, what if I could, in a way, connect people and solve some of these issues that we deal with day to day as musicians and performers. And the other thing is, like, there was never a time that I was working one job and making all my income from that one job, right? Right. I would be teaching. That was probably my largest form of income. I'd be doing gigs on the side, and there was no way for me to represent myself in that multifaceted way, right?
Yeah.
People could say, oh, yeah, he sings and stuff, and you could make a website that's just my performer website and then a teacher website, but that's really inefficient. I mean, it's expensive, it's hard. So that was kind of
hard to maintain, and it doesn't have the same. Yeah. Okay. I got you.
So that was kind of the beginnings of what Resonance is. And then there's the other problem of, people don't have, access to representation. I would say probably only 2% of performers in the world have any kind of representation. The rest just do everything on their own. And I think that's a crime, especially when other industries have used technology to solve that problem for so many different types of people, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the idea for Resonance came. And I met with Sean Christensen, who's another co-founder of Resonance. We met singing Sarasota many years ago. And he came on board Accompanist and helped me. We hired him for that. And then after I sold Accompanist, I'm no longer associated with it now. I sold it to another party, and with that, the proceeds for that, we started Resonance with Sean, and then we have another co-founder, Sushant David, who's a phenomenal tech genius, and we got together and said, "Hey, is this possible?" And we had, I think, all of the elements that you need, like an amazing tech person, industry experts, and for the last 2.5 years, we've been building it. And then we were going to launch in March of last year, but we all know it happened in March of last year. Our industry was decapitated by the pandemic. And so that, made us kind of like change. Oh, whoa, what are we doing? But we were really lucky because in some ways, the pandemic was a boon for us because we are a digital platform. You can offer services. We have an integrated video system that we built. So for teaching, it was very easy. And so we decided, okay, let's rejigger it a little bit and kind of launch this as like something that people could use as a benefit during the pandemic. So we launched in July, and since then it's been, I mean, we're way past expectations. We have 6,000 people on the platform as of this past month, and people are using it. I think I'm really excited for the next few months as things start opening up again, and people feel safe to go out and stuff like that, getting vaccinated and stuff. It's going to be really great for our industry, and I think that that's really where the power of Resonance is going to show its face, because we really built it for an open creative industry. So that's
I think it's we're, as a society, we've moved so much more towards democratization and scaling solutions so that everyone has access to as many resources as possible. And I think our missions are somewhat aligned, and obviously we're focusing in different areas, but it is trying to solve a problem of how cost ineffective our business is, and the fact we haven't leveraged things that technology has afforded us to be able to do. And one of the things that opera constantly has a problem with is being accessible to the larger population, right? So
yeah, completely. I mean, it's frustrating because that was not the case 120 years ago. I mean, opera was the movies of the world, right? People would crowd in and see it, and of course the aristocracy are the ones funding it, much like today, which is also unfortunate. We need to move away from that model as well. But it was the cultural zeitgeist to go to the opera, and it is too bad. I mean, I think that musicals really kind of took that mantle.
Took the place of
musical theater especially has done that, and then film as well.
Yeah. So congrats on the success. I mean, thousands of people that filled out profiles or download the app and are getting use out of it. What's the next step? Like, where do you want to take it to? What is your grand vision for it?
Yeah, so I mean, in the near term, we're going to be releasing a bunch of new features. You know, we've been kind of holding back with these features just
Ooh,
to
tell
wait
us,
for
tell
the
us, tell us,
for
tell us.
the yeah for the industry to open back up. But you know, if we're speaking to opera people, you know, the next big features that we're going to be releasing in the next 1 to 2 months is kind of Yap Tracker meets Backstage meets Eventbrite. So it's a place that you can come to find, you know, what concerts are going on, what workshops are going on,
to find
purchase
talent.
tickets to purchase tickets to events, and find jobs, apply to jobs using your Resonance profile. So it's really easy and quick, and it's all an ecosystem. So, you know, you go to like the event page and then you can click on someone's profile, which takes them to their Resonance profile, and you can see all the information about them, what they're doing, how they're doing, see their videos. And then if you want to even offer them a contract, you can send them a contract and do it. So we really want to create an ecosystem where it's the creative hub of everything. You know, if you're a creative person, if you're a performer, especially as our beachhead market, which is classical musicians, you know, you come to Resonance and you can do what you want and interact with people. You can add people as colleagues. So that's really one.
It's got a sort of like a LinkedIn feel to it in a way too, right?
Yeah. And I mean, we don't want to go exactly like LinkedIn. I think as we all know that LinkedIn does not work for
artists,
for artists like us, right? So, you know, we're trying to do our version. And the other thing I want to say is that while I believe in tech and it's very important and stuff, we also have to make technology that fits the model of the, you know, the industry that you're serving. And I think that's one of the reasons that something hasn't really happened in our industry. You know, there are little pockets of services that work for specific use cases, but the reason it doesn't work is because people aren't coming to where artists are, where performers are, you know? So I think that what's different about Resonance is the fact that we know the industry really well. We know how creatives think, we know how artists work and stuff like that. We can kind of take it the right way, in the right direction. And hopefully, if we play our cards right, we can expand to other disciplines in the industry, you know, music theater, pop, rock, stuff like that. But that's way far in the future. You know, big goals in the next 5 to 10 years, God willing, if we're still around. I really want Resonance to be kind of the technological infrastructure of the creative industry. So, you know, it'll give you kind of the skeletal framework through which other people, companies, individuals, entrepreneurs can build and offer, you know, solutions for niche problems in their market. You know, without us having to build every single thing for every single, you know, give people really an open way of doing it. You can kind of think of it like how Shopify did that for the retail market. You know, Shopify is amazing if you're retail, you want to sell products and stuff like that. They've created a whole ecosystem where it's really easy to push it to Facebook and other channels and stuff like that. Advertise, keep your receipts. We want Resonance to be that same, really like the business tool for your needs as a creative, right? So that's the real goal in the long term.
Cool.
And why we get up out of bed every morning.
Nice. Yeah, that's a hell of a mission, and it's a big task. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work, but I think it's providing a lot of value. Like if I had something like Resonance, like right out of college or something like that, that would have really helped me like be able to network within the industry a lot easier. Facebook was sort of the de facto thing for that for a long time.
Yeah, it still is in a lot of ways, which is
it kind of is.
It's funny. I mean, because I really don't like being on it too much, especially nowadays, right? Where it's it's becoming quite the place. So you know, and that's too bad. You know, I think that we need a place that is ours. You know, that isn't connected to everything, but is easily connected to everything if you want it to, right? So I think that's really that's our hope, that we make something, and also something that actually makes a difference in your life as an individual artist or as a person. The other thing I did mention is we're also building a whole suite of tools for organizations, you know, to make it really easy to consider people, you know, run auditions, send out hundreds of contracts, you know, schedule the performance and rehearsal schedule for everybody. and have it managed in one place, assign people that need to be assigned. That's really our goal too, is to solve the other side of it. And I think that's also woefully missing from our industry is, most organizations are not these giant legacy institutions that are bureaucratic nightmares and have millions of dollars at their disposal. We really want to serve in, the local organizations, the arts councils and the small theater troupes and stuff like that, that really help their community. Because I really think that the creative industry as a whole, the future of it is local. It's not going to be in these legacy institutions. They will always be there. And of course we want to serve them as well. But what we need to do is empower individuals to make opportunities, make a living, and have access to the data necessary to make the best living they can in their discipline. And that's one thing we want to do with Resonance is, right now we have thousands of people. We know how they, how they're doing, what kind of lessons they give, who books them. And if we can use that data and then give that back to the community to help them make informed decisions.
Recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're a kid and you're just starting out, 18 years old, I didn't know anything. And I mean, I had my parents to help me, but I still didn't know anything about the business, right?
Yeah.
So
and also, but the business changed, right? In the past 10 to 15 years, it is a totally different business.
Yeah, but if I'm 18 years old and I have an app that says, oh, you want to be an opera singer? Well, here are the opera singers in your region. Here are the teachers. Here are the gigs.
Yeah,
that would fit your level based off of what you've told us. Here's the track. Here are the best programs for someone of in your location, your age, your voice type, yada, 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 right? Armed with that kind of information, you can make better decisions and better business decisions. And that's what's really important. And that's another thing that was woefully missing from my education. I'm not sure about you, but for my music education, there was next to no discussion about the business side of things. And that's 90% of the heartache that we face. I mean, when you're finally in front of someone and singing and having that performance opportunity, it's great. But there's a lot of work to get back to that consistently. And that's what we kind of want to help it in our regard, in our way, with Resonance, And like I said, we're not reinventing the wheel. This has been applied to other industry verticals very well, and it's been huge for them, right? Yeah. So what we want to do is just apply it to us, Everyone started using wheels now. And I feel like opera,
we're the last ones to adopt it, right?
The arts industry is kind of, we're still figuring out how to put it on the axle, right? So once we're using wheels, then we can really innovate, and that's what I'm really excited about. Right now, Resonance is great. It's a great way to book, to protect for your time and stuff like that. But that's not what excites me. There's a lot of things that you can do that on. What excites me is where can this go? What can we do to really make that big difference in yourself as an individual artist or an organization? Awesome.
Yeah, I think that it's something that the industry has sort of avoided or not taken seriously for a long time. And if you can build that, it's a huge help, because artists talking amongst ourselves are always like venting these frustrations about how things work currently and how it's not serving artists. And artists are having to do gigs for free. They're having to do gigs that pay them lower than a minimum wage, and they have to have side gigs, and it's not been, not to say that's unique to our time, but what we haven't done is use technology to our advantage, like pop artists have, like rock artists and people who sing other genres of music. Because if you look at social media and how pop artists are able to be discovered through YouTube, there's not a single classical artist I can think of that the Met has hired because they found them on YouTube. Now, I think part of the other challenge is that there are kind of corridors of power, and there's a very strict sort of infrastructure and path you have to go through for opera. But, that used to be the case for pop as well. And that paradigm has been broken. So maybe it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree. It's also harder because opera is a live art form. Classical music is, by and large, a live art form. So there's already a difficulty for people, right? And you're never going to get the same sense listening to a YouTube recording as you would, you know, hearing
Being
someone
live
like,
in the house. Absolutely. I would agree.
yeah, you know, someone amazing with a giant voice just smacking you in the face. Right. So that is what is different, I think, about our industry. But what's really important is how can we empower people to make the decisions necessary that will serve them in the future for what they do. So if you're a pianist, what do you have to do? You know, who do you have to connect with? How do you let people know that you're available? You know, these are the kinds of things that right now Facebook and Messenger and Instagram are doing for people. But I think that we can do it in a better way.
If there's one place that's exactly, because Instagram is not built for that. Like, one thing I've learned in the tech business is that you can build an entire business around solving a very specific problem for a very specific audience. And when you have a real understanding of what the challenges are in that industry, then you can build what you provide as a solution with the right sort of nuances in mind, like the way you're able to book, all the different categories and things you can use to list your skills. The fact you can have like a singer profile versus a conductor profile and then one person can have multiple profiles. I think it's very well thought out, because that's how you really put yourself out there to be fully appreciated for all the different skills you bring to the table, right, as an artist. Because it's
that's something I really like. I think that's what sets us apart from a lot of other, you know, and you'll have to see this for yourself when you use Resonance. But, you know, like you were saying, I'm a teacher, I'm a singer, I also do church gigs. All of those things are different prices. All of those things require a different way of working. And all of those things I would want to show off in a different way. What's so cool about Resonance is, you know, when you click on, like, let's say you're a conductor and a singer, if you click on the conductor tab in your profile, all of the media can change, and all of your experience and stuff can change right away, so that you see the view of yourself as a conductor, right? So that's really cool. So when people click on that, they actually get a really good sense instead of that generic media, you know, of everything. I think that's what's really different about Resonance too. And the fact that it's not just one-to-one bookings. You guys can negotiate a contract, all aspects of it. You know, what's the pay? When are you going to pay me? Writers, you know, that kind of stuff. And have all of the stuff that you've done, all the negotiations, there's a record that both parties can
electronically
refer to.
Confirmed.
Right. And then the payment is handled automatically. So whatever you guys agree to, you know, you can know that, oh, I'm going to get paid that day at that time. And if I don't, you know, I have the proof.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
But
You
I also have the
agreed
proof
to pay me.
Yeah. And how many times have we dealt with this? I mean, as a teacher, I dealt with it all the time. Yeah, you just chase them out. I remember one year I had over 55 students, and I was doing my taxes at the end of the year, and I realized that I had lost almost $6,000 that year from cancellations or non-payment, right? And that was terrible, because that's a lot of money, especially for, you know, a kid trying to pay off student loans and stuff like that. But it's also a crime because people expect it, that you just take that. Right. In our industry, for granted. Like the parents or the students is like, oh, you know, oh shoot, I don't have the money today. I'll get it to you next time I see you. Right. And you would never do that.
You lose track of it too yourself.
And you would would never do that in a restaurant. You know, you wouldn't eat the burger and then at the end say like, oh shoot, you know, I'll get it to you next time. Don't worry. You know. Yeah. So I really think, like, if you go in with Resonance, you just are never going to have that situation, because it's just all up front, all there. You know, when they say they're going to pay you, they're going to pay you. And if you have any problems, then you can deal with us. You know, that's another great thing about Resonance. So whenever someone has a payment problem, the teacher can just contact us, and then we'll be the bad guys for them. You know? Oh, nice. Like, okay. Hey, where's this payment? Please do a new card. You know, and that's another thing. We really care about the customer experience and the pro's experience. And we're really pro professional. We're on the professional side, and we want them to feel like we have their backs, because we know the issues that they have. So it's really pro-centric, where I feel like a lot of other marketplaces, especially digital marketplaces, usually have the consumers first. And of course, we want the consumers to be happy too. But Our philosophy is the professional has a valuable set of skills. Their time is worth something, and there should be an agreement for any time you use those valuable sets of skills, and that agreement should be enforced. And our tech does that all automatically. So that's really what we want to do with Resonance.
Cool. I want to ask can you show us something interesting and new about Resonance? Would you mind sharing your screen?
And new?
Yeah. Let's see what you've been working on.
Let's see if the tech works for us. I'll just show you kind of our homepage and then go from there. So whenever you go to Resonance, you can
perfect. I want to say a quick good afternoon to Patrick, who's going to be on our show actually in July. So thank you for joining us, Patrick.
Hi, Patrick.
I'd put that up earlier. I don't know if you heard me say hi earlier, but just wanted to do that one more time. All right, so you're sharing your screen. We're going to see the Resonance site now. Okay, what are we looking at? Let's start at the top.
This is just our homepage. You can kind of see some awesome people. I'm sure you know some of them. Hannah, she's great. Jared, amazing trumpet player. Just kind of gives you a little bit of what we're on and the people. So, when you want to start looking for people on the platform, I think it's doing it by tab. So I'll just do it in this tab, but you can just go to the app version of Resonance on your browser. We're also available on iOS and Google Play.
Android? Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
and Google Play. So it works on any device. And here, look who's that. See, plan that out.
Oh, that's a familiar face.
Here.
A few years younger.
Yeah. And so love that picture. Great. You can see little pictures of people. And it looks like, oh, this guy is multifaceted. He's a singer. He's a videographer. He's a photographer.
Okay. I love the carousel. The scrolling. Okay.
So this is cool, right? Like when I switched to photographer, you actually added different media. Yeah. And now a videographer, you have different media. You can see what you've done. And then a singer like that. So that's pretty cool. And another thing we're really proud of is the resume system. We've also talked to hundreds of organizations the past few months. They're really excited about this resume system because it makes it really easy to see what people have done.
Yeah, in terms of institutions, like which institutions have you worked with to build this or have used this? I think you've mentioned a few pretty prominent ones, but tell us a little bit
we're really
more
lucky.
about that.
A huge shout out for Melissa Wegner, who's the head of the MONC. She's been amazing help for us. We're talking. I'm not sure how many people I can say publicly, but we're going to be announcing a few in the next few months. But quite a few, I would say, legacy institutions are interested in working with us, and they've been pretty excited about that. So that's fantastic. And another thing, you have all the links for what you do. And I don't see a lot of mention of DictionBuddy here.
Yes, I should.
Probably, another cool thing, you can always ask someone a question if they want to. You want to know something from them, that they can get that, and it's really easy. Then we have a dashboard here, which is basically like an aggregator of everything that people are doing. So
new people, like a randomly selected video.
Resonance.
Okay, so it's an opportunity to really get found. I mean, if you're newer to the platform, you might actually make it into this carousel somehow.
Yeah, and, everyone is. We kind of randomly throw people in there, and then eventually you'll have your views for the people that you're colleagues with. And I like this because you can like click on this. Inrit, she's an amazing spotlight artist of ours. You can just kind of look at that while continuing.
Cool.
Same thing with audio files. Oh yuck, mine just came up. Well, we won't click that. So audio files and then highlights that people are doing, so you can just kind of see what's going on. And then also services. So Audrey Luna, we know her. She's an amazing coloratura who sang the highest note at the Met. She's been.
Oh, is that the Exterminating Angel? That was.
That's right.
That's her. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So she's great, and so you can just kind of visit, people and see what they're doing. And this is like really like the basic thing that we want to do with Resonance. Like I said, we're going to be releasing that kind of Yap Tracker meets Backstage meets Eventbrite soon. And that will be even more info heavy, and I'm really excited to show that to people when it comes out. So that's kind of Resonance. Another thing is the colleague system. Now, I'm always testing things, but you can see that the colleagues I have here, there's you, a couple other people. Let me click on Sean's. This is my co-founder, Sean, who is awesome. And you can see his profile. So yeah, and you can always add people. So you can view a list of colleagues and what they're doing. So I would encourage everyone, if you have a residence profile, to like kind of go through and start adding colleagues. We added it about a month and a half ago. So
yeah,
works
that's
well,
a big. I think that's a big deal. That's going to create a real network effect. You definitely we'll get the word out about that as an organization that's partnering me through in some capacity. We should that word should get out. And so basically, let me ask you a question about an institution like DictionBuddy. If you wanted to create a profile, is it better for me to put it on my profile as an individual or some other method at this point?
Yeah, so that's coming with our next big drop, where in organizations and companies and institutions can make a profile and then put all their stuff in there. So it'll be very similar to this, but much more custom to what an organization or company would want, right? So that'll be coming. So I would say wait on it. But if you are a business or company, you can actually make a profile. But I would say that it would probably serve you better to wait just a little bit longer until we do that next drop. But we do have a lot of different businesses. You know, we have people that do social media and web development, and you know, we actually have image consultants and stuff like that too. So you can definitely do your business that way too. So yeah, that's, I mean, right now you're kind of, I'm very scratching the surface. We didn't go into the booking thing. That's just take too long. But like I said, you can always book someone very quickly. Oh, here's Dylan. We know.
Yes.
Claire. You know, and
I saw Michelle Johnson, an amazing soprano.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite the
amazing people. So yeah,
and people want to get in touch with you about Resonance to join. You can just go in the Google Play Store, the iOS Apple App Store, and download the app just by typing your Resonance or Resonance, right? And you'll see the purple logo. It's hard to mistake it for anything else. You can find Resonance on Instagram and Facebook and socials. Yeah, very cool.
So it's you know, it's funny because for me I always look at this and I'm like, oh, it's just not where I want it, right? It's not exactly where I want it, but we're very proud.
But it never is though, right?
It never is. It never is.
It's just like you're singing, you know, you're like, that wasn't quite what I wanted to. That's how it always goes, right?
But I will say that I do honestly think that if you're considering using a service, you know, to manage your studio or to manage your payments or to do contracting or stuff, I don't think there's anything better for our industry right now. So I'd encourage you. And the other thing I want to say is that anyone that is a new user or existing user, we have on our website a way to schedule free profile consultations. So if you want us to help you build your profile or anything like that, we're here for you. We want you to have a great experience and help you get. And another thing I want to say is, like, we really don't view Resonance as a listing service, right? The same way something like Take Lessons or Thumbtack is, you know, it's just a listing service. This is a business management service, right? So this is a way for you to bring all of your different income streams together and show them off, you know, your experience and connect with colleagues. That's really Resonance's goal as an app. But you can, you know, if you want to look for a voice teacher,
right,
you can find anyone that's a voice teacher.
We actually have a question here. Is the Resonance app available outside the U.S.? Thank you, Emma, for the question.
Yes, we are in anywhere that the iOS or Google Play stores are. You can download Resonance. One thing is that certain countries have regulations that prevent their constituents from earning money on the platform. You can always use it to build your profile. It's totally free to put all your media and stuff up there. But if you want to earn money, there's a list. It's on our website in the FAQ section of those countries where you can earn money. And I think it's about 60 countries where you can earn money. So most of Europe, you know, North America, Mexico, some South American countries, and parts of Africa and Asia as well. So go look at that list and you'll be able to boom. But anyone can, like I said, anyone can build a profile. Anyone can go online and see it. It's totally available that way.
Sweet. Cool. I hope that answers the question, Emma. Just to mention also, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat and we'll get right to them. So thank you for showing us this, Raymond. This is really, really awesome, really, really encouraging to see that people are tackling some of the problems and things that artists have been complaining about a long time. It's really this lack of representation and access, and not having management being a real barrier to maybe getting exposed to certain opportunities. So this democratizing of the artist industry is going to be a huge game changer for a lot of us. So thank you for doing that.
So I really want people to know that they have a lot of agency over over themselves and their business. You shouldn't feel like if you don't have an agent, oh, well, that means that you're just not going to have any opportunities. I hope that Resonance is a way for people that aren't represented to, in some ways, circumvent the need for a representative for a lot of different work, but have the same power at your disposal. Like for a church gig, I mean, unless it's a giant orchestra or a big church, you're not going to want to, have an agent represent you to negotiate that contract. But with Resonance, you can do it yourself really easily, right?
Exactly.
And since 98% of us don't have any kind of representation, why not use something that will represent you very effectively?
Yeah. Makes sense. Awesome. So tell us, so let's go back a little further. I mean, you started Resonance, but you also started Accompanist. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like, how that got started?
Oh man, I learned so much. So I came on board with that Accompanist with two other guys, Darren Adams, and they had actually made a different product years before. That was on a computer many years before. And then I got really excited and, things happened. I joined the team and then we formed the Accompanist LLC, which is what was, became the app. So what I did was basically hire all of the pianists and sort through thousands of recordings and find people that were good and then hire them. And then they record the tracks. And I learned a lot about business, about finding people, managing, we had when I was there, like over 35 pianists recording. I don't know what it's like now, but it was a great learning experience. And I also learned a lot about the industry as a whole, a lot of people that are demanding, very demanding, which is fine. People that just don't have a lot of information when it comes to, repertoire and stuff like that. So I think the Accompanist is really great. What I really learned from Accompanist was the importance of being able to scale and the importance of scale at the speed in which you scale is super important. And, it's always a learning experience. The other big thing is how much work it takes to do a successful business. I mean, it takes a lot of work for any kind of business, but if you want it to be successful, it's a lot of work. I mean, I would say that with Resonance, the average for the last 2 years has been 16 to 17 hours a day of work.
Wow. That's a lot.
And it's never really stopping. It's never really stopping. And I'm not saying you're like stuck at your computer for 17 hours. But exactly. But, it's planning and thinking and calls and, dealing with advertising and all of that stuff. It's just, it's a lot of work, but it's really rewarding, especially if it's something that you believe in. And I would say that I wish if I could get back in a time machine, I wish that 18-year-old me had put the same kind of devotion into like
building businesses.
Into building, but even as a performance career, have that mindset of what's necessary
to be successful.
To build a business. Especially nowadays, how important it is to have a digital presence. Those people that you see online that are like running ads and stuff and have millions of views or whatever, like those are business people. They might not be the greatest artists. They might not be the greatest teachers or whatever, but they really understand business and they are successful because of that, And I don't think it's dirty to think of singing and performing and the arts from a business place first. I mean, if you want to be able to maintain this for your whole life, you got to do it. And there's absolutely nothing.
You have to just have at least have a process, a plan, and a sort of approach to it that is repeatable, and obviously is giving you the results you want. Because if you just look at the fact that most artists in opera don't make it in terms of having a real career, something has to give, and you have to sacrifice a lot of time, other opportunities, and dedicate a lot of effort to building a career. And so any tools that can make your life a little bit easier should certainly be something that people embrace.
Yeah, and nothing is given to you. Nothing's given to you.
Yeah.
You have to get it, and
to go for it.
I think that a lot of, the colleagues that I was with and the people that I've talked to over the years, they're always waiting for their break, like waiting for that moment. And I think that you actually have to make
that moment happen.
Yeah, make it happen, right? And there are people that are just, kissed by the gods, and everything works out for them. And that's the top 0.001% that are that lucky. But I would say that the majority of them there are also very hardworking, diligent,
and business-minded, right?
And business-minded, especially the ones that stay. The ones that stay are business-minded for the most part, right? And it really boils down to, what do you value? Do you value the hard work necessary? Do you value putting in what it takes to be successful as a singer, as a performer, as a teacher? Teaching too. I mean, there's a whole lot. That's a whole other.
It's a whole industry in of itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, in my education, we were woefully underserved with that. How to start a studio. I figured that all out basically by myself, and it's hard, but it's also doable, right? I think there is like a formula to getting a healthy, thriving studio in the place that you live, and understanding how to charge, and what your cancellation policies and booking policies and stuff like that. That's super important. And it also, if you put yourself out there very seriously, you're going to attract people too. You'll attract the people you want, and make a living at the end of the day doing what you love. And there's nothing I think more satisfying than, helping someone get better at what they do.
What they love.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I've definitely taken from my corporate career in sales is that it is about a consistent effort, and, just despite all the rejections, despite all the, ignoring of your inquiries and all of that, you have to just keep kind of plugging along and ignoring all of that, and just persevering through the really hard times. I mean, for a couple of years, a lot of my money was coming out of singing, and I've never been poorer in my life, even since college. I mean, my first job out of college had me I was earning a decent salary as a union job and everything. And I was kind of singing on the side, just working at I was a contracted singer with the Buffalo Philharmonic Chorus, which was a couple hundred a week, I think. Yeah. So that was a good supplemental income for like my regular job. But yeah, I mean, it's really a grind, and you really have to put a lot of hours in, not just in your singing, but in other areas to support yourself. So it just feels like there's a lot coming at artists today, and not a lot of support from the industry itself. And one of the reasons I've kind of pulled back from, putting so much emphasis there is that I just can't have, the sort of life I would like to have being just, focused on art, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't that way, but I think the industry kind of needs a transformation. It needs some sort of a renaissance, so to speak, so that some of the systemic problems within it can be solved, and it can support more people trying to prioritize art as a way to actually have a career. And, whether that's a form of, a market solutions like you're coming up with, or if it's, regulations that are going to change, or there's going to be funding from institutions like, government, or, more formalized, systematized donations from the private sector. It's, something's got to give. Either that, or the industry is going to have to go through some sort of a contraction, right, to allow
I
only a smaller segment of artists.
I think the contraction is going to come, especially with the pandemic. And I mean, it was heartbreaking speaking to so many people in our industry, especially trying to help them earn an income during the pandemic. I mean, people lost everything. I mean, their whole lives were messed up by this, and the systemic issues that we talked about in the industry were and
Yeah,
are
brought
laid bare.
right to the surface, right?
Yeah,
All the
exactly.
roaches came out, basically.
And I would say, and I said this earlier, it's we really have to change our mindset. You know, you as an individual need to take agency, factoring in all the BS, you know, the sexism, if you encounter people that are racist or whatever like that, like you as an individual, as much as you can, you know, take charge of what you can do, and then change your mindset. Like, what opportunities can I make in the place that I live and be happy and fulfilled doing it, you know? Or if this is the place that I'm not going to be happy and fulfilled, maybe I go somewhere else and find it there, right? And also, I really think that we have to get away from top-down legacy organizations defining the industry, right?
Yeah.
There are like, what, in the US, 15, basically, if we're talking about opera, like 15 major opera houses.
Yeah.
If that, right? If that. And my numbers might be a little bit wrong here, but I think that in the US, there's only like 2,300 lead roles per year available in all opera.
The whole country,
right?
Yeah.
Right. You know, if you're considering like a legacy institution that offers, like, you know, good pay and stuff like that. Good pay. I say that with
whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means. But if you know, if you as an individual say like, hey, I know that I live in a Midwest town, that all the old white hair people, they love Rodgers and Hammerstein or stuff like that, then do that. You know, find artists that are starved to do that and create the opportunities, but think of it from a business standpoint first, rather than I want to put on a production and sing, right? That is fine, and that's great, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from doing it, but if you want this to be something that lasts,
something sustainable that you can rely on and gives you stability, gives you, you know, an income.
And that's my hope with Resonance is like, how can we help that process? Because I really think that the future of the industry is the local places putting on what they want to put on, and finding the people and the donors that really care about what they do, right? And that is how it's going to be sustainable. That's how you're going to and really be fulfilled. I mean, it's really
people have been saying that a local is the new global, or at least using the term global, which is, you know, essentially smaller niche communities with a common thread across the world with a similar mission, just implementing on a more local scale. That is really the future, I think, because it's just not possible for like, so actually interesting. One of the tech company I work for helps companies do this, is build these small local communities around specific missions or brands or initiatives. And, you know, that is what is scalable. And it's also tailored and specific to an audience that has a specific taste or a specific culture or milieu so it's very interesting to note that, as you said, you know, if you live in the Midwest and there's a population that grew up on Rodgers and Hammerstein and would love to see a performance of that, being able to have a data to say, oh, these people really do show up, you know, consistently for these types of shows, gives you confidence to put that show on. Just like, you know, when we were starting DictionBuddy, we put out a survey asking people, is this a problem you've experienced? Right. How bad of a problem is it? How much would you willing to pay for it, et cetera, so that we could then determine if there was a market for it. And that's what helped us sort of move forward and make a choice about it. So
and there are businesses that do that so well. You know, you may not have even know that you are interacting with them, but like I'm thinking like Booksy or Shortcuts. These are like apps that you book barbers through. Right. But you would never even know that they're the guys that are providing the technology to get you to show up at the top of Google or connect you with the right person. But they do that, you know, and when you go and look for a haircut online, you type in Google, you know, there's actually a whole huge infrastructure that's been built that nobody notices. And that's what I really think we need to do. You know, I don't care if anyone ever sees the name Resonance. I care that our tech,
you're solving that problem.
Yeah, our tech is actually solving the business problem for people. So that really is the goal, I think, for our industry, is to reach that. We really need to just get there, and then who knows the innovation that will come. I'm excited.
It's actually exciting. Yeah.
You know, with with the way that tech is going just in the greater world, I mean, we're seeing
Mhm.
people do Hollywood movies with like an
The
iPad,
shoestring, but
and
yeah,
an
it's incredible.
iPhone.
I mean, just even the
It's like,
cameras that you can buy for $2,000, $3,000,
yeah,
cinematic quality, 4K, 8K. I mean, it's
yeah.
really awesome opportunity. It's just also
And then
in a
AI,
way,
like you could do special effects and stuff like that for no money.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
people are doing
like,
special effects in their YouTube videos that actually look pretty decent, better
and
than
that is
some
going to be
movies from like the
huge for
90s.
us as opera
Yeah,
singers, because that's what's so
yeah,
difficult about
missing.
something like opera or classical
Yeah.
music in general is the costs
Hmm.
associated. And I really think
Hmm.
that tech is going to solve a lot of that, especially as we get more computing power,
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
people get more, it's just, I'm looking at my daughter, she's almost 3 years old. And
Hmm.
I mean, judge me if you want, but like, I'll give her an iPad and it took her like 5 minutes and she's like flicking through all of the
Wow.
boxes and
Oh my
tapping. And
God.
she's like,
You gotta call
totally,
child
she
services. You give an
understands.
iPad to a 3-year-old.
I know, right? It's the best babysitter. But we're moving into a world where it's just it's a ubiquitous way of doing things, and
Yeah.
that's going to result in a lot of exciting things. But it's not good if we continually encourage the old way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
This top-down approach. You only go to legacy institutions, only give your money to legacy institutions that have huge bureaucratic nightmare messes, that are out of touch with culture and out of touch with the moment. That's not the way forward. Your ideas as an individual and finding other like-minded individuals and putting that out there is going to be way more successful and fulfilling, which is why we do anything in life, is to find the meaning in life,
Yeah.
right?
Purpose.
And that needs to come from within. And a lot of the frustrations I see with my colleagues and my students, the students that I still have, there's this culture of like, oh, everything is happening to me and I can't do anything about it. You just have to stop thinking that. Think outward, Any self-help book, any business success book, and I've read so many of them, they all say it starts with positivity.
Within.
I can do this.
Yeah.
I need to put in the work. And
internal locus of control.
And that doesn't, and that doesn't mean that shit is not going to hit the fan in your life, and that unforeseen circumstances and cataclysms like a pandemic that destroys everything you've been working for, right, isn't going to happen, or you're not going to still deal with evil people, megalomaniacs, sociopaths, or just selfish people, right? As we all are often. We have to realize that. But if your mindset is, I can do this, I'm going to make my opportunities, I think that that's a lot healthier than the reverse.
Yeah, I've had the most fun when I've done productions where I put on my own concert and we pick the repertoire, we pick who you're working with, we pick the location, and you just do it. And when it's well received and you make money, and it's a wonderful sort of proof that, if you want to take on the task, you can do something on your own terms that works for you. Now, I think part of the challenge also, though, is that if people are kind of like clout chasing in our industry, that's kind of the modus operandus of basically everybody. Is like they want to win the prestigious competition, they want to sing at the A House, they want to win some prestigious award of some kind. And so because of that dynamic, everyone's kind of pigeonholed into, this is the thing that's going to help me get to the next level of my career. So if I win this, XYZ competition, and then I place in this other competition and I get into this young artist program, that is going to help me get there. But I mean, it seems to me pretty clear that there is no real formula, because there are hundreds of people that fit into that category of winning these competitions, getting to a prestigious YAP program, and their career doesn't really get to that, upper echelon
and
where
honestly
you can make
speaking,
a real income.
How many people, and this is not to denigrate anyone that's had those amazing accomplishments, but how many people can we name on 10 fingers that went through that process and are successful? Not many.
Yeah, exactly.
It's totally dependent.
Exactly.
I mean, how many people that have won the Met competition the last 3 years can you name?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Right.
I can't.
Right.
Maybe that's part of it. Part of it is like
competition isn't valuable, or that you should try for it, or anything like that. I'm just saying that, hey, there's more to it than this
just that.
institution bestowing you a specific status. You need to bestow your own status. You need to get out there and show people what you're worth. And we've talked about this personally before. You know, with how easy it is to go on iTunes and just release an album, and how cheap it is to like get a recording done nowadays. I mean, this would have been unthinkable 30 years ago, like completely unthinkable. And yet we're still operating like it's unthinkable. And it's not.
And
you know,
exactly. It's always like the whole world has changed, but we're still playing by the old rules in a way.
Right.
And, you know, that's part of like the new strategy, at least for me personally, is to see what I can do on my own outside of the paradigm of the opera industry, and just having as much fun with it as possible. Because I think once you kind of give up the reins in a way to an institution or a group of institutions having control over what you can do with your career, you're really not, you're just not able to live your fullest creative life as an artist. And,
that's right.
You know, as I mentioned in the beginning of the broadcast, pop has changed, rock, rap, all these other genres have created this new path that's through the social proof of social media and the general public's sort of approval of you as an artist. And that has cachet, I think. And it's just not been taken advantage of by any classical artist because of the legacy institution sort of like approval and the ivory tower sort of dynamic.
Right.
So,
and it's also, the fact is, there's only a limited amount of people that will like what you do. You know, like, you just need to connect with them. Exactly. How can you find them? How do they know who you are? And monetize that smaller group. That's totally doable, and that's been proven with like the rise of podcasting and you know, these other forms of media that aren't, you know, the big five, you know, ABC, CBS, Fox, and stuff like that. Exactly. Thank God that we're getting away from all of those, right?
Exactly. There's so many artists who would not have been exposed to if it wasn't for these new mediums. That's
right. And, you know, looking at companies like PayPal and I was saying Booksy and stuff like that, they've really digitized the donation thing and the making money and all that stuff. We just have to do that here in our industry. It's just it's second nature to the kids coming up now, that's how things are going to be. So we have to really be on the forefront of it and prepare that for them, because we'll prepare a really great future where I think that creativity and artistry will be even better than we've ever had before in life, right? But it will only happen if we get away from the old model. And I mean, we're doing things, we're implementing business tactics and tools right now that were formed 200 years, 300 years ago. That is it's crazy.
That's so out of date.
Like, we shouldn't be doing that. And talking to a bunch of organizations, it's amazing to me how they cannot think outside of the box that they've imprisoned themselves with, you know? And I'm talking about like really big people that just don't have any, they just can't think outside of it. And that will mean that they will die in a few years. They will be left behind. If they can't adapt, So my charge to people, and this is not just for Resonance, just in general, is realize that and prepare yourself for that reality. And hopefully something like Resonance or DictionBuddy can help you in that journey. And last thing I would say is, if you could find joy doing anything else that's not performing, I would do that too. I mean, it's not the life for me, for sure. And maybe I was never good enough to do it. But even if I was, you know, I want to be home with my daughter and my wife. I want to have roots and stuff like that. I'm not saying you can't, but it's really important that you know what fulfills you and gives you purpose. And I think something like opera, there's no higher calling in the creative world if you can do it. So go for it.
Yeah, that's really perfectly said. Actually, it's funny, when I was in college, that was one of the things a voice teacher said to me. And, you know, at the time I was a little butthurt about it, you know, that if there's anything else I could do, I should probably do that because the business is tough. And this was back in 2007, 2008, 2009, when I was finishing college. And, you know, big ego when you're young and you just don't understand. But thankfully, I think a part of me understood that. And that's why I took the corporate route and kind of did that so that I could provide for myself. And then, you know, the reality kind of sunk in very quickly because, you know, once you look at things like you pay, you know, you get paid for a gig, you got to take out taxes, you got to take out your expenses, you got to have money to live on and pay your student loans and eat and travel and pay for rehearsals. It just becomes, or pay for coachings and all this and voice lessons. It just, you start to, reality hits you, right?
Yeah.
And
that reality might not bother some. I mean, I think
yes, of course.
My brother Arnold Geis, Arnold Livingston Geis, is an amazing tenor. You've seen him, I'm sure, and you'll see much more of him in the coming years. I mean, the guy he doesn't care how hard it is. He'll take everything that comes at him because he wants to be a singer. He wants to be a performer. He wants to be an artist, and that's the kind of
DNA,
attitude
you need that.
And then layer on top of that attitude, what are the decisions I can make? What are the tools that I can use to realize that and make it easier for me, make it more valuable? That's what we have to do as individual artists, right? So, and then on the flip side with organizations, you know, do I need to make this higher, right? Do I need to spend that 15 grand or 20 grand a year for this hire, or could I solve that for $40 a month? You know, and that's what other industries have done really well. And maybe that person that was going to be doing that job can now do something in the organization that's going to be way more valuable. Yeah,
exactly. Like raising money or
exactly. Anything like that. That's so much better for an organization. What will that result in? More opportunities, more jobs, more outlets for creative expression, right? And that's why we do it. Right? You don't do it. You don't join the admin team of a fledgling opera company because
you want to be rich.
You want to push papers, and be rich, right? Just because you want to make the world a more beautiful place with art, right? So let's stop doing the horse and buggy routine in our industry and start embracing how things are going. And it's going to happen. There's no question. It's going to happen.
About when.
When.
And where will you be when it happens? Are you going to be well positioned, or are you going to be sort of playing the old game or singing the old tune, so to speak?
That's right.
Yeah.
And there will be people that will be holdouts. You know, I'm thinking of like Napster, when Napster came out, and people, you know, the record companies were like, "Oh, you can't do this," and there were even bands that were like, there were even bands that were like, "We'll never do any digital anything," right?
Yeah.
I can't. Maybe it was Metallica or someone that said they would never, you know, do digital downloads or stuff. And now bands are releasing entire albums for free. That you can download on anything, and they're getting huge, way more profits, way more
from
money.
ads.
Like,
it's a different business model.
And I'm saying that can happen in our industry, in the archaic classical music industry. We can do the same things by applying the same principles, and it gives me a lot of hope. That's why I'm doing this. I really believe in especially operas, someone that grew up with it. I believe in the art form. I think that it is the height of human creative expression in a lot of ways, especially for live performance, and that it is our duty as people that love that art form to help it get into the future rather than being stuck in the past. And I mean, and I love Puccini, I love these old great stuff, but let's hear new stuff. Let's hear new works and new forms of what we love. That's what's going to get people interested, right? But not if we continue the same model. I keep coming back to it.
Yes. I think we're definitely in agreement. You know, we're definitely peas in the pod in that we chose to see a problem in the industry and try to fix it, and using the tools at our disposal, which are, you know, social media or technology in general, to see how we can provide value to our fellow colleagues, because, you know, we experience all the same sort of challenges, and it was through that experience and the pain and the inconvenience, the frustrations, that we then decided, okay, something's got to give. We got to fix. We got to do something about this, right?
And I would have killed to have something like DictionBuddy when I was a little
undergrad.
At school. Yeah, undergrad and high school. I mean, I would have killed to have something like that at my fingertips, right there, hear it, see it, all of that stuff. I mean, that's unbelievable, unthinkable.
Yeah, back in like the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, right?
Now, I mean, 2010, it wasn't there. You know?
Exactly.
2000 is just, and that's unthinkable. And we're going to look back at this time and think, how did they do anything?
Right.
How did they even like get up out of bed in the morning, right? They didn't have a robot that like took your sheet off for you and stuff, you know? Whatever it's going to be.
Right, exactly.
That's where we're going. And hopefully we navigate that well as a society. But in the terms of art and creativity, it's a very bright future if we embrace it.
Amen. Amen. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation, as always, Raymond.
It's great talking to you.
It's a pleasure to chat. And
thanks for having me.
So, guys and gals,
awesome.
Our pleasure. I hope this was educational, entertaining, and or interesting, at least for anyone who's been able to join us for a few minutes at a time for this conversation. So we're going to wrap it up. But before we go, make sure to follow Your Resonance on Facebook and Instagram. You can download the app. It's free to download. There you go.
Download the app. You know, when you download the app or you register, you can get our newsletter. And stay tuned for a lot of updates in the coming months. We're really excited, especially as things start opening up. We can start to really realize our full vision for Resonance and where it's going. And you can always contact us. You can always reach out to me. My email is ray@yourresonance.com or support@yourresonance.com. We want you to be successful. We want to hear from you, things you like, things that you don't like, and really appreciate your business in any form.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray. One more thing. You had mentioned something about a referral thing. Is that something you're doing yet?
Coming soon.
Coming soon? Okay. All right. Well, when it's ready, let us know.
We'll do another one of these and talk about it then.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
All right.
Well, guys, thank you all very much. Have a wonderful Father's Day. Happy Sunday. And we'll catch you on the next one. Next week, we'll be interviewing Kenneth Overton. So definitely be there for that. That's going to be a fascinating conversation. So, awesome. Guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for joining us.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.